I'd like to begin by thanking everybody who's here today, especially our dignitaries, Mark McWaters, board member at NCUA, Commissioner Gross, Mayor Walsh, Commissioner Finn. Thank you for all being here. Really appreciate that. It's my hope that any additional publicity that we can generate through this event is going to be useful in creating awareness around the issues that we're here today to talk about and in a way celebrate the wellness of the fire department, the wellness of the police department, because that's really what we're doing. I need to begin by talking about what the National Credit Union Administration is, because that's the source of the funding that enabled the board here at the credit union to do what we did. National Credit Union Administration provides deposit insurance to credit unions across the country, much like FDIC does for banks. FDIC tends to be a little bit more widely recognized than NCUA. During the crisis back in 2009, 2010, the insurance funds of the credit unions took some pretty serious hits, as you can imagine. And at that time, we had to step up as credit unions and provide additional capital to those funds. Fast forward 10 years, through some prudent management, those funds grew to the point that there was a surplus available. A little bit complicated in that there were two different funds, and those funds had to be commingled in such a way that it was legal to do what was needed to be done. But at the time, Mark McWaters was the chairman of NCUA. Mark looked at this problem and said, I think I have a solution. We were looking at a situation where credit unions could have possibly been asked to write another check to NCUA as a further payment into the fund. But there was a separate fund that had a significant surplus. And by combining them, Mark was able to create quite a bit of money to distribute back to the credit union industry. In the case of Boston Firefighters Credit Union, that distribution was over $100,000. While that happened, back here, we're paying a lot of attention to wellness in the fire department. Mayor Walsh, Commissioner Finn have made an effort to try to improve the health of the fire department. We all know, and many of us here at the credit union have personally experienced the loss of a friend to occupational cancer. And as a result, we decided that we wanted to try to do something to help. We've been involved in this for quite some time, and we have a long-standing initiative through the Commissioner's office to try to help firefighters in wellness. But this was another opportunity for us to do something. At the same time, through the police unions, I was invited to a meeting at Commissioner Gross' office, and Mike Hamrock was running that meeting and talking about some of the challenges that the police officers were facing in terms of their wellness, both physical and mental illness. And we saw an opportunity to help there as well. So I was able to come back to our board of directors, and our board of directors decided to make a distribution of $50,000 to each of the fire and police department, with the sole purpose being to help with officer and firefighter wellness. I'd like to just close this morning by saying that we're doing this not to generate publicity for simply the Boston Firefighters Credit Union. We're doing this in the hope that some of the word that we get out by doing something like this will help to further create public and private partnerships. In order to cure these problems that we have in both the fire and police department, they need money. And public and private partnerships are going to be one of the ways that we generate those funds. So again, I'd like to thank the gentlemen who are seated here, and I'm going to offer the opportunity for each of them just to say a couple of words, starting with Mark McWaters. Mark?
Thank you, Bernie. I think Bernie did a very good job in summarizing what was happening at the NCUA. We had a very secure, safe and sound share insurance fund, but we had an excess. So we distributed the funds in a series of dividends in 2017 and 2018. Now, as a federal regulator, my only requirement is that those funds be used in a safe and sound manner according to the business plan of the individual institution. There was no requirement that it be used for a philanthropic purpose. None of that at all. That Boston Firefighters has chosen to take money dividended from the federal government and use it outside of the credit union for something philanthropic that helps the members of Boston Firefighters is absolutely commendable. That's the reason I'm here. So, Bernie, thank you. But also, this is a challenge. This is a challenge to other credit unions that receive total dividends of around $900 million. To use those funds in, let's say, more creative ways, more philanthropic ways, to look to the unique needs of your members, as Boston Firefighters has done. So thank you, Bernie.
Mayor Walsh, would you like to talk for a few comments?
Commissioner, go first.
Yeah, however you want to do it then.
Good, Will. Okay, thank you. Sir, I'd like to thank you as well.
Very well.
Mayor, Commissioner Finn, all of you here. Bernie, I remember when you and the commissioner spoke to me, I couldn't believe it. Because just like the mayor, myself, I believe that the first responder families should be sticking together. Of course, it's fun to tease each other, but when it comes down to it, for domestic preparedness and the state of our city, it should be a united front. And often those that run towards danger, like firemen and police officers, everyone forgets that they're human too. They have problems too. So for you to step up, all of you, and say that you care about your brothers and sisters, your first responder brothers and sisters, and their wellness is huge. Right, it does need to be sent out to everyone, especially in our first responder families, so that they know people do care and that our lives are not taken for granted. For BPD, we attended 7 funerals last year. End of watches that ended too soon for various reasons, all related to mental and physical health. This does need to be broadcast to everyone to say that we're going to have a unified front, we're going to stick together as a family, and make sure that our loved ones and their family members that are a part of this first responder family will be taken care of. You're all to be commended. This is a great day. Thank you.
Yes, I'm up. I just want to thank Bernie, especially because Bernie stepped up to the plate. And the firefighters credit unions have stepped up probably 2-3 years ago, minimum 4 years ago, to kind of lead the charge, I should say, and provide some resources for us. I want to thank the staff of the credit union for all your hard work, what you do for us. And I want to thank Mark for all your work, and certainly Mayor Walsh. I have no greater supporter around this health and wellness initiative than Mayor Walsh. I mean, when you look at our numbers and where we are, cancer seems to be our the driving issue for us, but we're also going through a number of cardiac events, most recently the death of a lieutenant. It's certainly impacting the department. And when I had a conversation with Commissioner Gross, back when Willie first got promoted to the commissioner's position, when he told me that they had 7 active members from the police department pass away from a variety of illnesses, and both mental and physical, I was like, wow, that's a significant number, much like ours. And as Will was saying, I think the first responder community, this is what we pull together, and we can share a lot of data, we can share a lot of outcomes, and see what where we can make a difference and how we go forward to try to make that positive impact on firefighters and police officers' lives. And the fact that the credit union, the Boston Firefighters Credit Union, stepped up is remarkable. It's supposed to end NSUA and the distribution of funds. Hopefully start a trend, and the public safety will. I'm not so sure though, we'll see. But I just want to say thank you, especially the staff from the credit union and my staff, Chief Walsh and Chief Fontana and President Didi and so on, and Jim and Street, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I want to commend Commissioner Finn and Commissioner Gross for the work that they do and understanding, acknowledging what's going on in both services. I think that, Bernie, you talked about putting awareness here, and I think it's important to put awareness. I don't think our own Boston Fire and Boston Police Department people understand the importance of what's happening. I think we hear about wellness, we hear about cancer, we hear about suicide, we hear about heart disease, but none of them think it's going to happen to them. And I commend the Federal Credit Union Association for this contribution, and the Boston Firefighters Credit Union for what you do. I think it's really important for us to make sure we continue to invest in the future of our police and fire, not just while they're active, but while they're retired. The whole idea behind this is to get somebody from being sworn in the first day, get them to retirement, and let them live 30 years afterwards when it's all done, and that's not happening enough. And I think that the fact that some of the work that's happening right now in the city is gonna help other firefighters and police officers for generations to come. And this donation of 50 grand on each side is really important. Thank you for making that investment. I think that, and I think most importantly, bringing light to this. And I want to thank the local 718 as well, Bobby, and the union for what they do, and the BPPA weren't here yet, weren't here today, but what they do, and the other unions in the police department. It is important for us to talk about this, and it is important to let the public know what the risks are for folks, and let them understand what this job simply isn't just riding in a police car, showing up at a scene, or going to a fire. There's long-standing repercussions after an incident happens that our police and fire take home with them, take home to their families, and take home to their grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So thank you for this contribution today. I know it's going to mean an awful lot and go a long way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your comments. Thank you for being here today. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Two of my board members are here also. Eddie Street is the chairman of the board. Dan McGowan is the clerk of the board. I think it's important that we also recognize their contribution to this, because I can come to this board table with an idea, be it a good one or a bad one, and there's some bad ones that come across this table as well. You can just look to my left and I can get confirmation of that. We have some good ones and we have some bad ones, but this was a good one, and it was one that the board members ran with very quickly, and so I need to thank them for supporting me and in turn helping us to support you. We hope we can continue to do things like this. We hope we can do more, and we hope we can do more to promote the spirit of unity that all three of you gentlemen talked about within the first responder community, because you guys all really, at the end of the day, do the same thing. So, and that's keep us safe. Thank you for being here. We're going to do just a couple of quick photos outside, if
Sure.
You gentlemen will indulge us, and we'll move on.
It's in the mail.